Hello everybody, this is Sportman16, and for this video is going to be the continuation of my talk of many of our different Pokemon from each generation that I like. So since we've taken care of generations 1 through 5, it's time to move on to the next generation in line, which is Gen 6. Now, with Gen 6, it was a little bit more difficult to choose because of the fact that Gen 6's roster is pretty much the smallest in the franchise, and probably will stay that way. Because I believe that Kalos has pretty much, I think, about 69 or 70 Pokemon that are introduced. But when it came to the designs of the ones that I'll be talking about here, they did a good job. And one other thing that I do want to mention is that when talking about the shinies of Gen 6, oh boy, the Game Freak delivered on that forefront. And more than likely, most of these are going to be, well, better than their originals. Well, at least in my opinion. So anyway, the first Gen 6 Pokemon that I want to talk about is that of Noivern. So, what is there about Noivern that I like a lot? Well, first and always, design. Like, you basically have a Bat-Dragon hybrid that has these massive boom these boom stereo ears. But it's kind of nice that we have, like, another Pokemon that's mostly based on, like, using sound for attacking. Because it can actually be a real thing. That sometimes people could be able to deploy like sound-based weaponry. I can't name any off the top of my head, but I know there can be, or is. And with Noivern, it's just that awesome. Now, Noivern competitively, well, he's definitely not the sharpest knife in the drawer, but he can get something done. Because the fact of one big thing about Noivern is that he's fast. Like, really fast. Base 123 speed. And the rest of his stats are, I'd say, about average. Maybe a little above average. I mean, he has a decent base 97 special attack, so he can do something in the special attacking department. But everything else, I believe, is just average or just slightly above average. And of course, with his abilities being Frisk, Infiltrator, and Telepathy, basically Frisk is that, well, Noivern will be able to identify held items by any opposing Pokemon that comes out against it. Infiltrator is basically meaning that Noivern's attacks will basically hit while basically ignoring Substitute or basically Reflect, Light Screen, Safeguard, Mist, and Aurora Veil. He'll just hit, and those attacks will just go right through them. And basically with Telepathy is that, well, Noivern will not be taking damage from any attacks made by the ally. But honestly, I think I would just run like an Infiltrator on Noivern because I feel like Infiltrator is a pretty good ability for him. And what he could run is like basically like a supporter or a choice scarfer. So like, yeah, you can either make him support, or just slap on a choice scarf and just make him go that much faster. And just give him like some really damaging moves like Hurricane, Draco Meteor, U-Turn. So yeah, basically, like I said, Noivern may not be the sharpest knife in the drawer, but at least he can do something. Now as for Shiny Noivern, well, considering the fact that the colors that they chose for him, he basically falls under the category of green shinies, which I have said before in the past, that green shinies are basically the most hated type of shinies, and Noivern was, well, no exception. Even though Noivern's green is looking more teal than anything, but I love the way of having the red colored wings and the underside of his tail and ears being the same color too, while also having like the purple crest thing on his face, along with his claws and toe claws. I really like them. Do I say it's better than Shiny or the regular Noivern? Yes. I think that's probably going to be the case for like almost all the others on this list. So yeah, basically, Noivern, I really like him. I love his design. I do like the fact that he is pretty fast, and the fact that he's just a Dragon Bat hybrid. That's all I have to say. He's just cool. Anyway, next Pokemon in line, well, it is that of one of the big bears. Well, it's Pangaro. Yeah, basically Pangaro was invited to the group of the big bears of the Pokemon world, with the likes of Ursaring and Beartick. And then after that came Beware. Now, if I'm missing a big bear, please let me know in the comments if I did miss a big bear. Because I do believe that there are only 4 really big bear Pokemon. Ursaring, Beartick, Pangaro, and Beware. But I like the fact with Pangaro that he's basically a big intimidating panda. And what I like about his design is that, well, I see his physique as sort of more like Bowser's. It's like, yeah, Bowser, he's a bit of a chunky boy, but he definitely has the big arms and legs. Though I kind of see like Bowser nowadays being a bit more fit, but that's more of like Smash Bros. Bowser. But that's besides the point. Basically, being Pangaro, he's a bit of a chunky boy, but he has the power. But one of my favorite features of Pangaro is, well, basically the stick in his mouth, and just the fact that his eyes, very intimidating, like, well, almost all the big bears besides Beware has. Basically, intimidating eyes. Though with Pangaro, he doesn't have like any irises or pupils in those eyes, but hey, they didn't make him like creepy or anything with those eyes. So yeah. Now, to be talking about Pangaro competitively, well, once I find him on this list here. Where is he? Let me look at the fighting. This is what happens when you become unprepared. Okay, here we go. I just looked at the wrong type. Whoopsie. I forgot that he's fighting dark, not in normal fighting. Yeah, I brain farted. But yeah, Pangaro competitively. Well, kind of like with Noivern, not the sharpest knife, but he can still do something. And basically, his stats fall under the case of having a really good attack stat, having really slow speed, and the rest of his stats are kind of irrelevant to him. But he does have some good HP at 95. But having an attack at 124 is not bad. Actually, it's pretty much good. And pretty much with Pangaro's abilities are Iron Fist, Mold Breaker, and Scrappy. Basically, with Iron Fist, if Pangaro has a punch-based move, its power is multiplied by 1.2. And I do believe I already talked about Mold Breaker, but just a refresher, basically with Mold Breaker, Pangaro's moves and the effects are ignored by the abilities of the opposing Pokemon. And then basically with Scrappy, is that Pangaro can be able to hit Ghost types with normal and fighting moves. But even though that Pangaro can still be able to hit Ghost types with Dark type moves, but hey. But basically what you can do, what they have listed here is that, well, you can just simply make him animate natured, let him have Iron Fist, and slap on a choice band. And then just have a whole bunch of like punching moves, and yeah, just go to town. So yeah, Pangaro can be good. Now, Shiny Pangaro. Well, I'm not quite sure if I remember correctly if this is an actual thing. That the black fur on Pangaro is more of like a reddish tone. And I'm not quite sure if actual pandas can have this kind of fur. But correct me if I'm wrong. But I also did like the fact that his hands and feet are like a much brighter saturated red. But I just like the concept of him just having more of red tone in his black fur, and his white fur, I believe, remains the same. So yeah, really love Pangaro. Pretty much shows that he has the strength to do so. And I also kind of did like the fact that when I was looking at pre-release screenshots of Sword and Shield, that there's basically going to be a Dynamax Pangaro, which that's going to be fun to fight. But yeah, Pangaro, really awesome, really powerful, and if I were to build a team, I would potentially use him. Anyway, next Pokemon in line, well, is basically a Pokemon that I didn't really think that Game Freak would be able to make, and it is that of Hawlucha. I mean, seriously, just take a look at Hawlucha. You basically got an avian luchador. Seriously, a luchador bird. That is just amazing. Because you basically got like the designs on his head to make it look like a wrestling mask, and then his feathers are supposed to be like sort of like a wrestling cape, because wrestling capes were kind of a thing. I'm not quite sure if they still are today. But yeah, though it wasn't really all that surprising, but still funny that when people were seeing Hawlucha and they were able to catch one, that it was no surprise that some of them would nickname their Hawlucha Rey Mysterio. And for anybody who doesn't know, basically Rey Mysterio is a WWE wrestler. And I do believe he is still competing today. I'm not sure. Because, well, I don't pay too much attention to WWE anymore ever since about, like, what is known as the PG era started. But, whatever. So, Hawlucha competitively. Well, in his debut generation, he was UUBL, but now in Sun and Moon, he is an OU. Remember saying Hawlucha is good, like really good. I mean, he can hit hard with a 92 attack, but he is, like with Noivern, fast. Though not as fast as Noivern, but he's still fast. 118 speed. And basically, his abilities are Limber, Mold Breaker, and Unburden. Basically, with Limber, Hawlucha can't be paralyzed. And since I already just mentioned Mold Breaker, Unburden is, well, basically this. If in battle, Hawlucha has a held item, and he loses that held item for any reason, Hawlucha's speed gets doubled. Yeah. How amazing is that? And, well, in terms of what this list here says of a set for Hawlucha, is basically a terrain seed sweeper with either electric terrain, grassy terrain, or misty terrain, or is it psyche terrain? I forgot the name of it. So yeah, Hawlucha can be pretty good competitively. But one thing that I really like about Hawlucha is his signature move, which is Flying Press. Because here's the thing about Flying Press. Flying Press is technically the first ever dual type move. Because with Flying Press, it may be listed as a fighting type move, but it also acts as a flying type move too. So like I said, this is technically the first ever dual type move, and Hawlucha has it, along with I believe Pikachu Libre. Well, basically only Pikachu Libre gets that when it applies its costume on, but yeah. That's one of the biggest things I love about Hawlucha. Well, there's that in his shiny form, because, oh my god, this seriously has to be one of the best shinies in Gen 6. Because, basically, with Shiny Hawlucha, they basically took the red, made it black, took the white, made it like a pure, like a really saturated magenta. The green tealish parts of like the mask and the underwings or feathers are turned to a nice, perfect purple color, and the orange part of the mask is turned into a green color. And I do believe that the feet stay the same color. But yeah, this is an absolutely amazing shiny, and I am just glad that I can be able to go into the flying type Friend Safari and find one of these. Though, funny enough, Shiny Hawlucha on the Friend Safari was one of the longest shiny hunts I had thus far. Because, seriously, Lady Luck was just not with me, and it took me about a month to find a shiny Hawlucha in the Friend Safari, even though the Friend Safari odds for 1 in 512. It still took me a month to find one because luck was just not on my side. And I'm not 100% sure if I still have that video up on YouTube. I think I still do. But anyway, Hawlucha, really awesome design Pokemon of a luchador bird, having a really awesome signature move in Flying Press, and just overall an amazing shiny. Will forever hunt it whenever I can, which I basically can with the Friend Safari, like I just mentioned. So yeah, Hawlucha is cool. Anyway, moving on. As well, basically, a Pokemon is definitely a competitive fan favorite, or pretty much just a fan favorite in Gen 6 altogether. And that is, well, Aegislash, or Aegislash, however you want to pronounce it. Oh boy. Where do I even begin with this sword? I mean, first of all, like, you basically got a ghostly possessed sword with its own shield. So yeah, basically this is... It still kind of blows my mind of Game Freak actually creating a possessed sword with its own shield. Now, what makes Aegislash a competitive fan favorite is, well, basically a few things. One, his stats. Basically with Aegislash, his stats are wow. Basically, Aegislash having two forms technically, his shield form and then his sword form, basically swap his attack and defense stats. And basically, his attack and defense stats can be at base 150. Yes, 150. And all the other stats are just, they're just bleh. But basically, with Aegislash's ability in stance change is, well, basically this. With Aegislash's stance change, if he goes into blade form, that is pretty much meaning he's going to attack. And then when he goes into shield form, is basically meaning he's going to put up King Shield. But once stance change activates and he goes into blade form, basically the 150 in both of his defense stats are now swapped to his attack stats. So now his attack and special attack are base 150. Which meaning that, yeah, Aegislash is going to hit really effing hard. Especially with the fact that he has Stab Shadow Sneak. Yeah. Stab Priority Shadow Sneak. Can't tell you how annoying that could be. Because trust me, when the time that I actually tried to battle competitively, I was on the receiving end of a few Shadow Sneaks. And trust me, they hurt a lot. So yeah, those are pretty much the reasons why Aegislash is just such a competitive fan favorite monster. So much so that even still now, he's still banned. Now, shiny Aegislash, man, did they pick the right colors. Basically, with shiny Aegislash, basically, the edges of his sword body get turned into like a bludgeoning red color, while the inner sword, along with the handle of his body and his arms, are turned into a black color. And then basically, the purple part of his hands are turned yellow, along with parts of the shield as well. And pretty much the shield itself goes from like more, like it's mainly gold originally, but now it has more of like a black going, while the insides of the circle are like a red color. And basically for me, since I was able to be able to find a shiny Honedge in the wild, maybe eventually I'll evolve it into an Aegislash, but I decided to give it the nickname Soul Edge, basically from Soul Calibur. Because when you look at shiny Honedge, it just looks like a more simple version of Soul Edge, because it's basically a red sword with one big old eye. So yeah, Aegislash is just an all-around fan favorite of Gen 6 for basically casual and competitive players, and I just overall love it. So anyway, moving on to the next Gen 6 Pokemon in line. This one is a bit more of a simpler explanation and possibly a shorter one, and it is one that some of you, or probably all of you, are not expecting. And, well, it's Clauncher. Yeah, I bet you probably all are kind of raising eyebrows right now and turning heads and asking yourself, why am I picking Clauncher and not its evolved form Clawitzer? Well, here's how I see it. I just like Clauncher's design more than Clawitzer's, because that claw of Clawitzer's, I feel like is just a little too big. But with Clauncher, I feel like it's just the right size, because I do believe that Clauncher is based off of the Pistol Shrimp, where basically the Pistol Shrimp have like one big old claw that's bigger than the other, and if I remember correctly, that if the Pistol Shrimp uses its big claw and clamps its claws together, then it creates like a powerful air bubble that could stun their prey. And that I find to be pretty cool. Now, I'm not going to be talking about Clauncher competitively, because even though it could do a nice little something in the little cup, but it just doesn't really have much else going for it. So that's all I really have to say about competitive Clauncher. But to be talking about shiny Clauncher, basically they took all the blue and made it like a reddish orange color. And I find it funny that, well, I look at shiny Clauncher and it just looks like a small, somewhat pissed off little Zoidberg, you know, from Futurama. I swear, he just kind of looks like a little pissed off Zoidberg. And if Zoidberg was more of a shrimp rather than a lobster. So, yeah. Though, unfortunately for me, since I have Y version, I can't be able to, like, fish up for Clauncher because he's exclusive to X version. But I'm not quite sure if there were any other places in future games that I could be able to find Clauncher. But if I do, maybe I'll think about hunting for one shiny. But yeah, that's all I can really say about Clauncher. I just like his little design. I love the fact of his shiny being a little pissed off Zoidberg if he was more of a shrimp. And that's all I really have to say about Clauncher. Anyway, next Gen 6 Pokemon in line is, well, one that I feel like can be a bit underrated. And, well, it's Trevenant. So, what can I say about Trevenant? Well, design-wise, I really like it. The fact that we basically have a possessed tree. I mean, what's not to like about a possessed tree? Well, I guess consider the fact that if Trevenant was real, we would all be scared out of our flippin' minds. But yeah, just gotta love the design, and the fact that it's like basically a Cyclops ghostly tree. And I just for some reason just kind of love his big 3-fingered hands. I don't know why. I just do. Now, Trevenant competitively. Well, by Smogon standards, they pretty much say he sucks. He sucks so bad that he is pretty much irrelevant. But he could still have like a set in like the lowest tier in Smogon, which is PU. Like literally meaning like PU Trevenant stinks. But I still feel like people can still be able to use Trevenant. Because he has a pretty decent 110 attack. And his special defense is nothing too much to sneeze at. It's just unfortunate he's rather on the slow side. Well, yeah, he's slow. And Trevenant's abilities are Frisk, Harvest, and Natural Cure. Basically, Frisk, Trevenant can be able to identify what item the opposing Pokemon is having once it comes into battle. Harvest, basically, if Trevenant is out on the field and he has a berry, and uses that berry, he has a 50% chance of getting that berry back. And if he's out in the sun, like if there's like strong sunlight out, Trevenant will 100% guarantee get the berry back. And then pretty much with Natural Cure is, well, Trevenant will be healed of all of any major status condition if you were to switch him out. So yeah, Trevenant doesn't exactly have any bad abilities, though most people would probably have like either Harvest or Natural Cure, probably most likely more Natural Cure than anything. Because the only set that I see here on this list is just a Jolly Nature Natural Cure Choice Band set with Woodhammer, Earthquake, Rock Slide, and either move 4 being Shock Claw or Trick. So yeah, basically, yeah, like Smogon says, he sucks, but I say he doesn't. Now for Shiny Trevenant, oh boy, did they do this one right. Like, you see how Shiny Trevenant is, and you just see like it's kind of a combination of more of his ghostly typing with the likes of the fall season. You basically see the ghost typing because the fact of the brown bark on his body is now more of like a ghostly white color, and all the green leaves on his body turn red. And as we all know, that leaves in the fall can change into different colors, like different reds, oranges, and yellows. So yeah, Shiny Trevenant was just perfect, giving more of a ghostly appeal, but yet also tapping into the fall season. It was just genius. So yeah, Trevenant definitely one of the cooler ghost types in Gen 6. I mean, definitely love him way more than Gourgeist. But not saying Gourgeist is a terrible Pokemon. It's just I like Trevenant more. And love the fact that he can be shiny hunted as a Horrid in whatever the route is next to I believe it's Snowbell City. I believe so. Anyway, next Pokemon in line is, well, if you all remember, back when I was making my Kanto video of this, that when I said that Aerodactyl was my favorite prehistoric Pokemon. But yeah, I said was my favorite. That was until Generation 6, when they announced the new fossil Pokemon for Gen 6. I was seeing the first one, which was that of Amira and Aurorus, which is basically sauropods that spent their time in the Arctic. And then the other one was Tyrant, in his evolved form, Tyrantrum. And oh my god, it was just immediate love at first sight when I saw Tyrantrum. Because I said to myself, it was about damn time that Game Freak created a prehistoric Pokemon based off of the most famous dinosaur in the world, T-Rex. So, where to begin with Tyrantrum? Well, of course, his design. Because, yeah, like I just said, having a prehistoric Pokemon based off of T-Rex is just amazing. And they definitely bring out a bit of the regal royal kingness within him. Because you take a look at his design more closely. You see that his lower jaw is covered in fur. Or I guess if you want to call it feathers. Because it has been evident to know that T-Rex was shown to have feathers. Does give him more of the relation that dinosaurs were more closely linked to birds than reptiles. Anyway, so you basically see the fur, and it pretty much it's like a beard. And then you got the furry frill around his neck, which I would say some kings would have that, like a fur collar. And then basically the biggest giveaway is that of the crest on Tyrantrum's head that goes around his eyes. You basically take a look at that thing, especially from the front, and you would see that it looks like a crown. Like basically a king's crown. Well, a simple version of a king's crown. And yeah, it was also stated that in the Pokedex that around 100 million years ago, Tyrantrum behaved like a stinking king. And like no other prehistoric Pokemon would have dared to challenge him. Because he could just take them big old jaws and just rip them apart. Because yeah, that's basically what T-Rex did. Now, Tyrantrum competitively. Well, to basically put it, Tyrantrum can do something. Because, well, he's the case of a physically oriented Pokemon. 121 attack and 119 defense. And yeah, special stats, forget about them. And well, he's not too terribly slow, but compared to like a lot of other Pokemon, yeah, he can be slow. And Tyrantrum's abilities are Rockhead and Strong Jaw. And I do believe I have mentioned Rockhead before, but just a refresher, is pretty much meaning with Rockhead, Tyrantrum will not take recoil damage besides Struggle, Life Orb, and Crash damage. And then of course his signature ability, or was his signature ability, is that of Strong Jaw. Basically, all biting moves will have their power increased by 1.5 times. But hence why I said that this was Tyrantrum's unique ability. That was until Gen 7 that the Young Goose, Gumshoes, Bruxish, well, I guess, Mega Sharpedo got it first, and then Young Goose, Gumshoes, and Bruxish got it. But I still say that this is Tyrantrum's own unique ability. And what Tyrantrum could do? Well, basically you can either have like 2 sets that speed him up, which is either Choice Scarf or Rock Polish, or just make him hit harder with a Choice Band set. And that's all I can pretty much say about Tyrantrum competitively. Now, Shiny Tyrantrum. Oh man. And just once again, they just took Tyrantrum's colors and just made them better. Basically, taking all like the reddish, brownish colors, can't really say it specifically, and making him blue with the beige scales, spikes, and crest being that of a gray color, and keeping the white the same. It's just perfection. Perfection to the king of prehistoric Pokemon. So yeah. And actually, this is a nice little funny thing that I would like to say. That on my DeviantArt page, I actually have like this nice little thing going on where Tyrantrum basically teamed up with the likes of Team Ruby. Like for those of you who know about the Ruby series, and the fact that I basically just said that I get this shiny Tyrantrum to team up with the likes of those 4 girls and just like have like some nice adventures going on. But well, most likely some of you people don't really care about that, but I just wanted to say just in case for anybody who was interested in that. But anyway, overall, Tyrantrum is possibly one of the best Gen 6 Pokemon I have ever seen. Love the fact of having a T-Rex-based Pokemon is really cool. His shiny is just amazing. I just don't know what else to say. It's just basically bow down to your prehistoric king. It's just a joke, really. But y'all know what I mean. Anyway, next Pokemon in line, well, this one may potentially be a bit more surprising for when I talked about Clauncher. And, well, it's actually that of a starter. And no, it's not my starter of choice. And what's even more surprising that it's not the final evolved form, but the middle stage. And it is that of Frogadier. Yeah, I bet y'all are kind of shocked right now. And really questioning, why am I choosing Frogadier over Greninja? Now, let me say this right here. I don't 100% hate Greninja, but I do have a bit of a disliking towards Greninja. And to basically say why I have a bit of a disliking towards Greninja is that, for one, I am really sorry for all Greninja fans out there. It's just, Greninja has basically become like the new Charizard. Yes, I'm openly admitting and saying that Greninja is just straight up overrated. I'm not, like I just said, I don't hate Greninja, but I am fully admitting that he is overrated. And the fact that Greninja just gets like this nice little special treatment of Ash Greninja. And Ash Greninja in the anime kind of really frustrated me, because basically they write off Ash Greninja in the anime as this really overpowered form, and that it could take down almost anything that stood in its way. Well, I say almost anything because the fact that Ash Greninja lost to Alon's Mega Charizard X like 3 times, and when it came to the 3rd time that Ash Greninja lost to Mega Charizard X, everyone just lost their flipping minds because, well, it was basically the fact that Ash was in the finals of the Kalos League and he was in the final battle with Alon and blah blah blah. But no, the one thing that gave me the biggest disliking towards Ash Greninja was the fight before Alon and Ash, and it was Ash and Shota or Sawyer, however you want to interpret it. And the fact that Ash's Greninja in Ash Greninja form took down the likes of Sawyer's Mega Sceptile. I was angry at that time. Like, seriously, I was legitimately angry that a grass dragon type that had a quad resistance to water lost to a water dark type. That to me was just complete Toro's poop. So yeah, that's pretty much one of the big reasons why I have quite a disliking towards Greninja. But to basically get back on track to Frogadier, well, I will pretty much say that Frogadier to me is possibly the coolest middle stage evolution for a starter I've ever seen. Because he basically shows that he is ready to fight, but still keeping like more of a simple look to him. Because I just for some reason just really love his idle stance in his 3D model, and the fact that when evolving from Froakie, the cloud scarf thing around his neck still stays. Unlike with Greninja using his tongue as a scarf, which I say that is kind of weird, but whatever. Now, like with Launcher, I'm not really going to be talking about Frogadier competitively, though the things that I will say is that, well, Frogadier has a really good special attack, and pretty much like with Noivern and Hawlucha, he's fast. And basically the abilities that he has, or of course we all know Torrent, which is basically Frogadier's HP gets to either 1/3 or lower, Torrent activates and all his water type moves get boosted, but the big ability is that of Protean, where it's basically for Frogadier attacks, Protean will kick in and it will change Frogadier's type to the type of move that he is attacking with. So like say, let's have Greninja for an example. Greninja uses Ice Beam. Before he fires out the Ice Beam, Greninja's Protean will kick in and thus changing Greninja to a Ice type, and thus the Ice Beam will get stabbed. Basically meaning with Protean, Frogadier, or more better, pretty much say Greninja, will always get stabbed. So, yeah. That's all I can pretty much say about Frogadier competitively. Now, Shiny Frogadier. Now, Shiny Frogadier's changes are not too big, but they are big enough that they are noticeable. Whereas basically, the different blue parts of his body get changed into a more drastic shade of blue. Whereas basically his lower jaw and most of his body turns into a much lighter blue, whereas hands, feet, and the rest of his head get turned into a much darker blue. And I will say this again, I find this better than regular Frogadier. I swear I feel like Gen 6 had like some of the best shinies I've ever seen. It's like they weren't slouching around with that. But yeah, overall, I just like Frogadier. And again, to all Greninja fans, I don't grade A 100% despise him or anything, because I can still find some coolness in Greninja, because I do like the name Greninja, and despite the fact that I said that I don't like Ash Greninja in the anime, I do love the design of Ash Greninja altogether. So that could be some happiness to you people, and not to mention that Ash Greninja can be really stinking good competitively. So there you go. And trust me, I'm basically saying that as the truth about Greninja. And I guess also consider the fact that I also do play Greninja fairly decently in Smash Brothers. Well, that was kind of like more like Smash 4 because I don't play him in Ultimate anymore. Though, if I do, it'll just be for the heck of it. But yeah, I think I talked about this way longer than I should have. Anyway, moving on. Now, as you probably may have noticed, I'm not going to be talking about the pseudo-legendary of Kalos, which is that Goodra, because I know I'm gonna get a bit of hatred for this, but I don't exactly like Goodra. Why? For one, his design just doesn't exactly fit with the rest of the pseudos. And that's all I can really say about Goodra. I'm not saying I hate Goodra, I'm just saying that Goodra is just my least favorite pseudo-legendary. Because, I mean, Goodra can still do something. But I just really don't like him that much. Anyway, the next Pokemon that I do want to talk about is one of the legendaries of this region, or pretty much say my preferred choice of legendary for Gen 6, and it is that of Zygarde. Yep, I really do like Zygarde. Because, well, first of all, take a look at his design. Just look at it. Because what you're seeing on here is basically his 50% form. Because well, here's the thing. When Sun and Moon were starting to come around, Game Freak decided to give Zygarde 2 new alternate forms, which were that of his 10% and his complete form, which was a really cool thing for them to do. But there is one thing about Zygarde that made me feel a bit sad for him, or pretty much say that I do feel sad for Zygarde, is that when the Gen 6 games came around, boy, Zygarde definitely got the short end of the stick. I mean, again, it's great that he got those alternate forms in 10 and complete, but it was just really unfortunate that he didn't get to become the mascot to what could have been a sister game, which would have been that of Pokemon Z, because that would have been perfect to bring back in a sister game. Because like with pretty much with sister games, with Gens 2, 3, and 4, they had sister games in Crystal, Emerald, and Platinum. But Gen 6, nope, not a sister game to be noted of. So yeah, basically Zygarde got no sister game, and all he got was just alternate forms, and they just decided, like, let's just move him to Alola. So yeah, that's the thing why I feel sorry for Zygarde. But regardless of that, Zygarde is still a really cool legendary in my eyes. Now, Zygarde competitively, well, considering the fact that he's a freaking legendary, he's just bound for uber greatness. Well, I guess considering the fact that, well, he's not exactly like the absolute greatest uber Pokemon around, but he still has good stats. Like, he is, in his 50% form, quite defensive. Base 121 defense, to be precise. And really, minus special attack, he has no stat under 95. But when talking about his 10% form, well, his 10% form is definitely fast and can hit decently hard. But he's not that terribly good. But basically with his complete form, well, the only thing that changes is his HP, which he gets a massive ton of. Yeah, Zygarde complete's HP goes up to 216. I do believe that is, well, not the highest base HP, because I think that probably goes to Blissey, I think. I do believe Blissey has the highest base HP of, I think it's 255. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong about that. But I know I do believe that Blissey has the highest base HP. But yeah. Now, pretty much with Zygarde's abilities in his base form, or 50%, basically his normal ability would be that of Aura Break, which is basically the counter ability to Xerneas and Yveltals. Where it's basically, when Zygarde's active, the effects of Dark Aura and Fairy Aura's abilities are reversed, multiplying the power of Dark and Fairy type moves respectively by 3/4 instead of 1.33. And then of course with his other ability being that Power Construct, whereas basically if either 10% or 50% Zygarde has his HP drop to half or lower, Power Construct will kick in and thus will automatically go into complete form. Now, out of those three forms, the one that I would actually prefer more the most is actually his 50%. And why do I pick the 50% over the complete? Well, I just feel like the 50% form has a better look than complete forms. But complete Zygarde's complete form is also really stinking cool looking too. Because having like these big old massive tentacle-like wings, which apparently also acts like mouths, or in the case of the anime, like jets. Kind of reminds me of Valstrax from Monster Hunter. Anyway, I also do like the fact that with Zygarde complete that he basically has like this face like part of his body on his chest. Where basically, actually the mouth part of the chest actually opens up and basically shoots out his signature move, Core Enforcer. And let me tell you, I love the animation for Core Enforcer, where he basically takes the wings and tail, makes it into the shape of the letter Z, and then fires off a beam, and then just writes the letter Z into the ground. And then big ol' massive energy surge just explodes below the opponent's feet. That's just really cool. But yeah, basically, with the kind of movesets that Zygarde could be able to use, I mean, we have one here which is called Big Boss, which is essentially just a Dragon Dance Zygarde. Then there's also Defensive Zygarde, and 1,000 Arrows and Waves Zygarde, which is the other two signature moves that Zygarde has. So yeah, Zygarde competitively can be pretty good, especially if he goes into complete form. Well, again, even though despite the fact that his stats minus HP doesn't change, like they still remain the same. But anyway, Shiny Zygarde. Well, this is kind of more the case where, well, I mean, I do like the colors of Shiny Zygarde, but do I think it's better than regular Zygarde? Well, I feel like it's more 50-50, because I really like both colors for both regular and Shiny Zygarde. Because basically, with Shiny Zygarde, all the black on his body turns white, and then all the green on his body turns from like a regular green to a mint green. So yeah, that's pretty cool. But there is one other thing that when it comes to Shiny Zygarde, Game Freak really missed out on the potential of us Pokemon players being able to shiny hunt Zygarde. Because I believe that in Ultra Sun and Moon, there is a cave where you could be able to find Zygarde and battle him there. That right there would have been the perfect opportunity for us to SR hunt for shiny Zygarde. But nope, Zygarde was still shiny locked in the game. And basically the only way we could be able to get shiny Zygarde now is either someone is actually willing to trade off the event Zygarde that happened like I think a year or so ago, where every month of the year that they were releasing these legendaries that were opposite to the version that they were exclusive from. And Zygarde, or basically Shiny Zygarde, was released for June. So yeah, and really the only other way you could be able to get Shiny Zygarde now would be like you basically were able to like hack your 3DS and gen in a Shiny Zygarde. But if that's what you want to do, then that's all fine and dandy. But yeah, overall, Zygarde, I really love this legendary. Though honestly, I didn't really care too much about Zygarde at first. But then once I started to see him more, especially when I was seeing him in the anime, I just grew a liking to him. So much, in fact, I have a shirt of him, basically of his 50%. That's how much I just love Zygarde base, or Zygarde 50%. He's just that cool. Now, moving on to the last Kalos line is, well, basically my actual starter of choice. And basically, like I mentioned with Frogadier, that my starter of choice is not Greninja. It is, well, Chestnut. So, what can I say about Chestnut? Well, as always with first, loving the design. Really like the fact that with the I'm trying to find my words. The big old the spike plate on his back, and one of the best things I like about Chestnut's design is that when he there's basically an animation of him where he basically puts his fist together and basically forms a shield from the plates on his arms. How cool is that? I mean, Chestnut may not look like the bulkiest guy in the world, but oh, trust me. We take a look at Chestnut competitively, he can definitely lay down the hurt and be able to take the hits. Because basically, Chestnut, like with Pangaro, is a case of a Pokemon with good physical stats, terrible special stats, and slow. But what does that mean for him competitively? Well, he can still do something. Because if we all remember from generations 3 to 5, with the fire typing, the fighting typing was slapped on. Well, not the case for Gen 6, because the fighting typing was not on the fire type, it went on to the grass type. So yeah, basically Chestnut being a grass fighting type, and I believe that the only other grass fighting types we have are Virizion and Breloom. I do believe those are the only other grass fighting types we have. And Chestnut's abilities, of course, we have Overgrow, which is basically the grass equivalent of Torrent. But his hidden ability, this is where I feel like he kind of shines here. Chestnut's hidden ability is that of Bulletproof, whereas basically Chestnut is immune to ballistic moves. And these ballistic moves include Bullet Seed, Octazooka, Barrage, Rock Wrecker, Zap Cannon, Acid Spray, Aura Sphere, Focus Blast, and all moves with either Ball or Bomb in their name. Like Shadow Ball and Seed Bomb or Egg Bomb. Chestnut is just completely immune from it. And not to mention Chestnut's signature move, which is that of Spiky Shield, where it's basically like his own version of Protect, where it's basically he forms up a shield, the opponent attacks, and if it does it physically, not only is Chestnut protected, the opponent does receive chip damage. And if you were to slap on a Rocky helmet on Chestnut, yeah, hello, more chip damage. And speaking of which, that's the kind of item that is used on a particular set for Chestnut, which is that of a Spike Setter. Or you could slap on your leftovers. Your choice to make. And yeah, like I said, Chestnut can definitely lay down the hurt. Now, Shiny Chestnut. This is, well, I guess like I pretty much said at the beginning of the video, that pretty much almost all the shinies on here are just better than their originals. And Chestnut is no different. Basically, the armor on his arms, along with the rims, or basically the green parts of his body, turn into like a deep brown color. The underparts of his arms turn more like a pure beige color, or more of a saturated beige, along with his the fur around his chin and on his chest. Basically, what I'll call his beard and chest hair. And then basically for the shell on his back, most of his body, and the top of his head are turned into a green color. I guess I would say like a bit of a dull green color. And then the rim, the color rim between the green and the beige, basically the red part of his body, turns into this really saturated orange color. And that, to me, all of these colors put together really brings out Chestnut's grass typing. And I guess probably kind of shows a little bit of both of his typings more, but more or less the grass typing. So, yeah. I absolutely just love Chestnut. I definitely do see him as a underrated starter, but I mean, I know there are people out there who do like Chestnut. And yeah, Chestnut is just a really, really cool starter if you know how to use it right, or if you're just pretty much a fan of him. And one of the nice little things about Chestnut that I do like is that one of his attack animations is actually that of a shoulder block. Like basically just hitting somebody with the shoulder. So, yeah. So, that'll pretty much wrap things up for Gen 6. And once again, I do apologize for this video being long. I mean, I try my best to make these entries short, but apparently I just can't do that. So, anyway, that'll pretty much do it. So, thank you guys so much for watching. And, well, be sure to stick around for whenever I decide to do Generation 7. And pretty much as pretty much a reminder that when Generation 8 comes around and we're all settled in with Gen 8, I'll probably most likely talk about some Pokemon from Generation 8 that I have a liking for. And, well, talk about like them like competitively in their shiny zone, all that. So yeah, be on the lookout for those. So I'll be seeing you guys at those times.